Welcome to Washington Square News. This is Op-Ed Live. I'm joined today by Tejas, Devanur, and Vittorio, Bisin to talk about NYU's housing. So, reapplication for housing starts on Monday, and the topic is as relevant now as ever. Thank you for joining me. This is important, I think. So, let's get started. How does NYU's housing prices compare to those of apartments in New York City?
To put it simply, NYU housing is significantly more expensive than housing in the city.
Yeah.
I looked at the Manhattan Rental Market Report, which consolidates data to give you average prices for different kinds of apartments. And I consider NYU housing as doorman apartments or apartments with doormen because there is security. So the average housing for such units is $2,879 per month per unit, whereas similar prices for NYU work out to $2,700 to $3,300 for per unit.
So that per unit could be divided among 3 roommates or 4, or
Exactly.
a double, just
Exactly.
2. Okay, so more expensive than the city. What about other schools in the area?
So we looked at 3 colleges in the area, Baruch, King's College, and Cooper Union.
Okay.
And for one academic year and for one unit, we found out that it's roughly between $22,000 to $25,000, whereas NYU was $24,000 to $30,000. So it's
Per year, per unit.
Yeah, per unit.
So why? Why is NYU so expensive?
So we had this theory of sort of a monopolistic competition.
Okay, break it down.
So basically, part monopoly and part competition.
Okay.
The monopoly is in the sense that they're NYU students and it's NYU dorming, so there's obviously convenience there. If you're an NYU student freshman year, you definitely want to get NYU dorming just for the friends and for everything, for being on campus. So in that sense, they have a monopoly. They also have competition in the sense that you're not forced, even freshman year, you're not forced to get housing. You can always get an apartment, you can commute from a cheaper area. So in that sense, they have to keep aware of those prices to not make it too expensive, because otherwise students would just get apartments, even freshman year.
And from a practical perspective, students are paying for all these implicit things such as cable, internet, maintenance. These are all included in the price. So this is something you have to consider when you're thinking about is the rent too high.
But cost notwithstanding, there are other benefits to living on campus.
True. Yeah. I actually was a commuter my first year.
Okay.
I lived out in Queens, and I've moved into campus since. And I see the convenience. I see the great increase in convenience. But I also feel like I'm more part of the community, and I think that that adds a lot of intangible value. And I think that accounts for the increased price.
So for you, it was worth it.
Yeah, it was worth it, even though the price was significantly higher.
So do you feel like you're being ripped off?
No, I mean, if you consider the facts, there's an explicit cost and an implicit cost. Explicit cost is what I'm actually paying to NYU, so from $24,000 to $30,000. Whereas an implicit cost is everything which Tejas just mentioned: the cafeteria, the convenience, the security, living with friends, etc. So in that sense, if you add up the explicit and implicit cost, the fact that every semester, students from NYU come in and get dorming, and even more so, that dorming is completely full, so that's an important factor. So the fact that every semester, the possible dorming options, all the rooms, all the units are completely filled up, means that actually the explicit cost, implicit cost, and the supply intersect, which means essentially that there's an equilibrium, so it's actually the right price. The price is right.
This is an economist speaking.
Yeah. A little complicated for me, but I think I followed it.
Even if you consider the question, are these prices fair? The answer would still be yes, because if you imagine a situation where NYU drastically cuts its prices, and there is this huge population of students who are just clamoring to get NYU housing, they're just not going to get it because the prices are so low and the demand is so high. That would not be a socially optimum solution.
Yeah, so the prices are high, but maybe they need to be. Right?
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.